Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever prayed, God, is this the right person for me? You're not alone. Relationships can feel like a maze full of excitement, doubt, and deep questions. But what if God is trying to show you right now whether this person is meant for you? What if there are clear signs, not just feelings, that reveal His plan? Today, we're diving into 5 undeniable ways to know if God wants you with someone. This isn't about wishful thinking or forcing a connection. It's about recognizing God's voice in your love story. If you've ever wondered, is this relationship blessed? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll have clarity, peace, and confirmation in your heart. True peace isn't just the absence of chaos, it's the presence of God's assurance. When God is in a relationship, He doesn't leave you drowning in anxiety, overthinking every text, or crying yourself to sleep, wondering, do they really love me? That's not His language. God's voice is clear. I know the plans I have for you, Jeremiah. So if you're constantly confused, if your stomach twists with doubt every time you think about your future together, that's not God's design. Think about it. When you pray about this person, does your spirit feel light or heavy? You sense a quiet confidence? Or does something deep inside whisper, this isn't right? God's peace isn't like the world's. It doesn't mean everything's perfect, but it means even in the storms you feel anchored. You're not scrambling for reassurance because your heart knows. But here's the hard truth. Sometimes we ignore that lack of peace because we're afraid of being alone. We convince ourselves, maybe if I try harder, they'll change. But God doesn't ask you to settle for anxiety disguised as love. If He's leading you to someone, you won't need to force it. You won't need to beg for breadcrumbs of affection. You'll feel a settledness, a quiet, unshakable yes in your spirit. Ask yourself today, do I have peace, or am I just afraid to walk away? Because God's best won't leave you in emotional turmoil. A God-sent relationship doesn't pull you away from your faith. It fuels it. If you find yourself compromising your values, skipping prayer, or feeling distant from God just to keep this person happy, that's a red flag. Because the right person won't compete with God. They'll point you to Him. Think about the people in your life who inspire you to pray more, serve more, love more. That's the kind of influence God blesses. When you talk about faith, do they lean in or check out? When you're hurting, do they pray with you or roll their eyes? A relationship that's meant to be will feel like teamwork. You're not just building something together, you're building it with God. But let's keep it real. Love isn't just butterflies and date nights. It's accountability. It's someone saying, hey, let's read scripture together. It's someone who challenges your growth instead of dragging you into compromise. If you're hiding parts of your faith to make them comfortable, ask yourself, is this God's plan or my fear of losing them? Because here's the truth. If they're the one, they'll love the God in you more than they love the things of this world. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. Do you feel precious in their presence? Or do you feel like an option? Because here's the unfiltered truth. God's love doesn't make you question your worth, ever. When someone is truly meant for you, their respect isn't something you have to beg for. It's something they can't help but show. Real respect isn't just about saying please and thank you. It's deeper than that. It's in how they speak to you when they're angry. It's in how they talk about you when you're not in the room. It's in the way they protect your heart instead of playing with your emotion. I've seen too many people, strong, beautiful, faithful people, shrink themselves smaller and smaller, trying to fit into someone else's idea of good enough. But listen to me right now. God didn't create you to be diminished by anyone's love. Think about the last time you set a boundary. What happened? Did they honor it? Or did they push back? Because love that comes from God understands that no is a complete sentence. It doesn't negotiate with your comfort. It doesn't make you feel guilty for having standards. I've watched women apologize for wanting commitment. I've seen men apologize for needing emotional support. This isn't how God designed relationships to work. And let's talk about value, real, tangible value, not just sweet words when it's convenient. Does this person invest in you? And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about time, attention, consistency. When you're going through something hard, are they the first to show up or the first to disappear? When you share your dreams, do their eyes light up with yours or do they subtly tear them down? Here's what breaks my heart. So many people stay in situations where they're being treated like background music. Always there, but never truly listened to. Always available, but never truly cherished. Is that you right now? Because I need you to hear this. Being lonely in a relationship is worse than being lonely alone. At least when you're alone, you're available for what God actually has for you. Now let me show you what godly respect looks like in action. They protect your purity without you having to beg them to. They remember the small things because to them, nothing about you is small. They correct you gently, not to shame you, but to grow with you. They speak life over you, even when you can't speak life over yourself. They make you feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. But here's where it gets real. Respect isn't just about how they treat you. It's about how they treat the waiter, their parents, their exes, their friends. Because character isn't something you can turn on and off like a faucet. If they're disrespectful to others but sweet to you, that's not love. That's manipulation waiting for its moment. And ladies, if he only respects you when he wants something, that's not respect, that's bargaining. Gentlemen, if she only values you when it benefits her, that's not love. That's convenient. I know this is hard to hear, but someone can love you and still not be good for you. Someone can care about you and still not be capable of valuing you the way God commands. That's why you have to watch their actions more than their words. Anyone can say, I love you, but do they show it when it costs them something? Let me leave you with this. Close your eyes right now and imagine your future daughter or son being treated the way you're being treated. Does it make you proud or does it make your stomach turn? Because the love you accept is the love you're teaching yourself you deserve. God isn't up there crossing his fingers hoping this works out. He already knows. And if you're brave enough to be honest with yourself today, deep down, so do you. The right person won't just love you, they'll honor you. They won't just want you, they'll value you. And until that comes, have the courage to walk away from anything less than what God says you're worth. Because you're not just loved, you're sacred. You've heard people say, if it's God's will, it'll flow. But what does that really mean? God's favor isn't about everything being easy. It's about his presence being undeniable. When he's in it, doors open that shouldn't. People bless your connection without you even asking. Even the timing feels divinely orchestrated, like the pieces are falling into place in ways you couldn't have planned. Think about it. Have you ever looked back at how you met and thought, that wasn't just coincidence. That was God. Maybe you were both in the right place at the right time. Maybe your struggles aligned in a way that only he could have designed. That's favor. It's not forced. It's not you chasing, manipulating, or begging God to make it work. It's a quiet confidence that he's leading. But here's the hard part. Sometimes we mistake obsession for favor. We think, if I just pray harder, God will change their heart. But real favor doesn't require you to convince God or them. It flows naturally. You don't have to hide the relationship, justify red flags, or feel like you're constantly fighting for it to survive. Ask yourself today, does this relationship feel like a battlefield or a blessing? Because God's favor doesn't leave you exhausted. It leaves you in awe of how he's moving. Love isn't just about who you are today. It's about who you're becoming together. And if God's in it, your visions won't clash. they'll align. You won't be praying for marriage while they're scared of commitment. You won't dream of serving God overseas while they're chasing a life of materialism. A God-ordained relationship moves in the same direction because He placed the same calling in both of your heart. Think about this. When you talk about the future, do your eyes light up together? Or do you bite your tongue, afraid to bring up what really matters to you? Because real love doesn't silence your dreams. It champions them. If you want a family rooted in faith, but they laugh and say, let's just see where things go, that's not alignment. That's compromise. And here's the truth. Love isn't enough if your destinations are different. You can adore someone with all your heart, but if they're pulling you away from God's purpose for your life, that's not love. That's a distraction. So ask yourself today, do we want the same things in 5, 10, 20 years? Because if God is writing your love story, your futures won't just overlap. They'll ignite each other. Let me look you in the eye through this screen right now and tell you something your soul needs to hear. Your love story isn't over. It's just being written by the author of eternity. Maybe you came here today with a heart full of doubts, wondering if you'll ever experience the kind of love we've talked about. Maybe you're realizing some hard truths about your current relationship. Or maybe, just maybe, you're walking away from this video with a renewed hope that God hasn't forgotten about your deepest desires. Wherever you are, listen closely. This isn't the end. It's a divine pause. I need you to understand something radical. Every no from God isn't a rejection. It's a redirection. That relationship you had to walk away from, that person who couldn't love you the way you deserved, that wasn't God punishing you. That was Him protecting you from settling, protecting you from a love that would have shrunk your soul instead of expanding it, protecting you from missing the real thing He has coming. I've seen it time and time again. The moment someone stops clinging to what was never meant for them is the exact moment God begins to unveil what always was. But here's where most people get stuck. They want the promise without the process. They want the breakthrough without the breaking. They want morning joy, but aren't willing to go through the night of weeping. Let me tell you something my grandmother told me that changed everything. Child, God isn't late. He's baking your bread while you're gathering your firewood. Every day you spend healing, growing, and becoming. You're not waiting for your person. You're becoming the person your person has been praying for. Now I need you to do something courageous with me right now. Speak this out loud. I refuse to let my past relationships define my future. I refuse to let loneliness rush me into the wrong arms. I choose to believe that what God has for me is better than anything I'm walking away from. Because here's the supernatural truth. When you align your heart with God's timing, you don't just find love, you attract it. The right person won't just happen to you, they'll recognize you. Not the version of you that's begging to be chosen, but the version that knows they already are. But here's the part you might not want to hear. Your season of singleness isn't a curse. It's your secret weapon. It's where God strips away every false version of love you've settled for so He can introduce you to the real thing. It's where He teaches you how to be loved by Him first, so no human love can ever become your idol. Some of you watching right now, your future spouse is in their own wilderness season too, learning the same lessons, breaking the same chains, so when you finally collide, it won't just be two halves coming together, it'll be two whole people creating something whole. Now, if this is resonating with you, if you feel that stirring in your spirit, I need you to do 3 things right now. Hit that subscribe button, because what we just shared, this is only the beginning. Every week we go deeper into what it means to live and love with God at the center. You're not just subscribing to a channel, you're joining a family of people who refuse to settle for anything less than God's best. Turn on those notifications, because the enemy would love for you to miss the exact video that could change everything. That next upload, it might hold the breakthrough you've been praying for. Comment God's timing not just to encourage yourself, but to encourage someone else scrolling through who needs to know they're not alone in this journey. I'll leave you with this: years from now, when you're lying next to someone who loves you the way Christ loves the church, when you're watching your children play in a home full of peace, when you look back at this exact moment where you chose faith over fear, you'll realize something breathtaking. Every tear, every prayer, every lonely night was never in vain. It was all leading you here. So don't you dare give up now. Your love story isn't just coming. It's already being written in the secret place. And when it unfolds, oh, it'll be so much better than anything you could have rushed or forced.